Why be afraid if I'm not alone? For life is never easy, the rest is unknown. For up to now, for me, it's been hands against stone. I spend each and every moment searching what to believe. Coming out of the dark, I finally see the light now, and it's shining on me. Coming out of the dark, I know the love that saved me sharing with me. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host of the show, your producer and show host, Dr. Lino Martinez. Guess what? This is my third year. This month makes my third year podcasting. I had to start with a song because as I reflect and I look back, I remember when I first started podcasting, it was with one vocal cord. Why was it with one vocal cord? Because at the time I was recovering from a rare genetic disease in which I had no idea what my outcome would be. All I knew is that I was following my passions and my love at the time when I started podcasting. And how I knew that I was following my love and my passions is because it came through to me when during a meditation. And at the time when I was heavily meditating, I was really in a lot of discourse, a lot of pain within myself because I didn't know what my longevity was. Living with a rare genetic disease, statistically 1 in a million, and being diagnosed at such a late age at 36 years old, I really didn't know what would come of me. Having over 40 plus surgeries in just 10 years, and at the time I was becoming deaf and mute, and I had lost my voice for almost 3 years. I had to learn sign language. I really didn't know if I would ever sing again or even talk again. All I knew is that through meditation, I had these messages that came through to me. And the messages were that I was going to start a podcast. And in my podcast, I was going to motivate people. And it was really hard for me to understand that and really believe it. But when I tuned in and felt that that was really coming from an authentic place, and when I mean authentic, and when I say authentic, meaning I wasn't making it up, it wasn't just something that I had a goal. I didn't write it down and say this is my goal. This is what's going to happen. These were messages that came through me intuitively. And so when I continued on my journey podcasting, it was with one vocal cord. My voice was barely coming back at the time. I had just started immunosuppressants at the time. I didn't know the side effects, the long-term side effects. I don't know what was going on. But when my voice came back, it came back one vocal cord at a time. As you know, we have two vocal cords. So my very first year podcasting was with one vocal cord, which was very painful for me to talk. I remember often looking at the time when I was doing my interviews and saying, "Oh my goodness," in my head, I was like, "Oh shit, it's only been 15 minutes. Holy moly, it hurt so much to talk. It even hurt to breathe at the time because your vocal cords move when you breathe. And when they're paralyzed, it's like this stiff, it's like you're trying to move something stiff and it hurts." But I kept going and I kept feeling the motivation that I got from the people, the guests that I had on the podcast. And at first I really didn't even know who I was going to interview or what direction it was going to go. All I knew is that I had to keep going and that I had a passion, I had a inner motivation and a mission that I had to just keep going. And the further I went, the further meaning the deeper I went. And what I mean by that is the more that I opened up myself, I opened up other avenues and people started coming towards me through my website or reaching out. They wanted to be on my podcast. And I started meeting like-minded people, people that were also on a wellness journey, on a healing journey, and people that had actually healed their own diseases, their own rotting bones, people that were on deathbeds, people that had traumatic brain surgeries, people that had near-death experiences. I mean, the list goes on. It's really quite incredible, this journey and this journey that I've been on and that everybody's on, because everybody that's been connected to this podcast is also connected to the rest of the world. And I realized that this interconnectedness that we all share has a common denominator, and that common denominator is love. So the more that I focused in on loving myself, and I say this quite humbly, and how I mean by loving myself is accepting myself, accepting my scars, accepting trauma that I've gone through, accepting surgeries, accepting everything, accepting who I am, who I've become, and what I've gone through. I noticed that the more I had self-acceptance, the more that I accepted everyone on my podcast, and everyone that wanted to be on the show, I allowed them to be, and then I accepted them because I was loving them. I was loving myself wholeheartedly. So why wouldn't I love the next guest that's going to be on the show? The comments that I've had have also been really uplifting and amazing. Even if it's just one comment that I get from one episode where, wow, that was really incredible. Thank you. Keep going. It really motivates me to keep going because I then realize that there's a bigger purpose, that there's more reconciliation to be made within my soul and within my own self acceptance, and to upgrade my self love in any way that I can. There have been many times within the last 3 years that I've asked myself, am I pulling the plug? Should I pull the plug? Should I stop podcasting? And the reason why I've asked myself this question is because of the amount of work that goes into having a podcast. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of editing that happens behind the scenes, a lot of researching who's my next guest, who are they, where do they come from, let me read about them, a lot of meditation, a lot of intuition, a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and really focusing in on the craft of interviewing because I love it. The interviewing for me is connection. Interviewing for me is love. Interviewing for me is it plays the role of connecting and communicating with humanity as a whole. And the more that I get interconnected this way, the more that I'm able to see how similar we all are and how much we are all the same. We're all the same. And we all want one thing, and that is to be happy, to be peaceful, to be graceful, to be in appreciation, to be in love. And that's what motivates me to keep going. So the many times that, and I say many times because there are times where I was overwhelmed with the podcast, so many interviews. Sometimes when I was releasing 3 episodes a week and trying to also upload it onto YouTube and do all the promoting, all the while also being a professor and having students and just having to turn my attention to the left, turn my attention to the right, and also turn my attention inward and making sure that I continue on this wellness journey so that the disease doesn't go on doesn't get out of remission, and so that I don't have a setback. It's been quite a juggle. But at the very end, when I close my eyes and go to bed, the most beautiful thing that I can tell you is that I am in a state of gratitude and appreciation for what I do, because at the very end, it's really bringing so much more warmth into my heart. And if it's bringing warmth into my heart, it's bringing warmth into your heart. And if that's what it's doing, then that is definitely part of my mission. And it just feels incredible to keep uplifting people. The most fascinating part, one of the biggest things that I've gained and that I've learned from podcasting in the last 3 years is that everybody's on their own individual loving themselves journey. And whether it's a healing journey or whether it's something they just want to share about the career or what they've gone through or a political viewpoint, at the very end, it's all about love. It's all about self love, and it's all about reflection and seeing how we all mirror each other and we all reflect one another, and how we all want to hold hands at the end. As much pain as there is in this world, there's also that much more love, and actually more love, because when you actually start to change your vibration and change your focus in that direction, the more you will see and will realize and will recognize that love within yourself and be able to give it back to a stranger. I love podcasting. To me, it's been really expansive. It's been it's given me a desire to keep going. And so that desire also comes from people's comments. Hey, that was a great episode. Lino, man, keep going. And what's really interesting and fascinating about that is that the times that I did feel like I wanted to throw in the towel, I will, not by coincidence, but get a random message from a friend or from a random listener saying, thank you, this was a great episode, or this really helped me. It happens every single time. And every single time that happens, it knocks me back into reality. It makes me realize that I have to keep going, and that there is a bigger purpose that I may not see right now. I may not see its full scope at the moment, but I understand and I feel it to be true. And I want the viewers, watchers, and listeners to understand that for themselves too, that just because you don't see an answer right away doesn't mean that it's not on its way. And sometimes the answer to whatever question you have, especially if you're struggling, it comes through in the most unimaginable, beautiful ways. And you have to be open to that. And I do say have. And usually I don't tell people have to or shoulds, but really, if you want to embellish in the beauty of life and the magic of life and the way that things manifest, you really do have to be open to other ways of your desires and your dreams coming true. Being open to that helps you release resistances, release setbacks, and release expectations. When you expect a lot, you're actually holding yourself back. When you are under a lot of expectations, you start to expect a lot of others on others as well, from others. And expecting a lot from others and from yourself really puts a wall up, and it blocks a lot of different open doors and windows and different ways and possibilities of things coming forth towards you, your desires, your dreams, your manifestations. And the best way to let it all in is through the vibration of love, joy, peace, enthusiasm, and while I understand it's really difficult, it can be very difficult to stay on that vibration. Know that that's okay too. It's okay if you can't be happy or joyful or enthusiastic every single day. That's not part of our human experience. We're actually here to experience an array of all of these feelings, and that is what makes the equation have its own specific answer at the end, because every single experience is its own mathematical equation. Though you may not have the answer at the moment, the answer will show itself and prove to you that the answer has always been there. A lot of the times, the biggest answer is patience. At least that's what it's been for me. One of my biggest lessons has been patience. I remember when I started podcasting and I didn't really know what direction I was going to go. All I know is that I wanted to share my truths and my authenticity. And I would have some moments of despair where I'd say, well, what direction am I going? Where am I going? What am I doing? And honestly, it was okay to ask those questions. It's actually really awesome to ask yourself these questions, because your inner being, your inner light will come forth and show you the answer in different ways. And maybe the answer will take a year or two or three. And as I look back now and even look at what I used to look like even 3 years ago and sound like 3 years ago, that's not the same person. It's not the same person because my energy has expanded. It's expanded with everybody that I've connected with. And in doing so, I've opened up my heart to everybody that comes onto the show. And I keep opening up my heart. Closing your heart doesn't enable you to expand or grow or to appreciate life in general. I've gone through so much in the last 3 years, from being on this wellness journey, having my two vocal cords back, being able to sing again, and writing poetry, which is another one of my greatest passions. And I also reflect and look back at the evolution of guests that I've had. And it does feel that the more I open up myself and my heart, that the guests also open up themselves and their heart. And we've all stayed connected. So many of the guests that I've had, we still email each other and give each other a shout out, because the connection is real. And that is the most important thing that people are looking for, real connections. When you connect authentically with yourself, you connect authentically with others, and others connect authentically with you. That is the mirror of life. That is how you reflect, and that is how you get back what you give, and how you give what you receive. And if you give what you receive, and then you receive that giving with so much appreciation, the vibration of gratitude uplifts, and you get more of that. I want more uh, gratefulness. I want to be more in the gratification and appreciation mode as much as possible. How is that possible? I always tell myself, and I'm always trying to live. Actually, not trying. I am, because at the present moment, I am present, and that is where I aim to be as much as possible, because that is the magic of life. When you're in the present moment, that's when things align for you. When you're in the present moment, that's when you see things that have been unseen. When you're in the present moment, that's when you can recognize and realize and breathe in. You can't breathe in something yesterday or breathe in something tomorrow. You can only take a deep breath right here, right now, and given that oxygen, in which that deep breath was just intake into my lungs, into my blood, into my cells, I'm able to recognize that this is the only moment that I have in time at this present very moment. And that is the most beautiful thing. What else is the most beautiful thing about being in the present moment? The things that you recognize and realize can only be in the present moment. You cannot have epiphanies or realizations yesterday, and you can possibly have it tomorrow, but we really wouldn't know. At this very present moment is when you can recognize the beauty of things unfolding, the beauty of things unfolding right in front of your very eyes. I've heard from a lot of truth seekers and thinkers that uh, there is no time, that the past and the present and the future is all happening simultaneously. And as I can understand that, speaking in the quantum field, what I see about that is that what feels the realist is the present moment. So while the past and the present and the future all exist at the same time, what feels the realist is right here, right now, in this real time. Also, appreciation, gratitude, joy, all of that magnifies, and all of that vibrates stronger in the present moment. Yes, I can definitely have a joyful memory from yesterday, and I can definitely have a joyful memory or imagination about something that could bring me joy in the future. But right here, right now, the joy that I feel right now, it can't feel any more richer than it does in the present moment, because joy is in the making. And you can't have joy in the present moment without making it current. And by making joy current, it becomes part of a joyful memory of the past. And by making joy current and appreciating the present moment, it also becomes something to look forward to in the future, to recreate joy and to keep that vibration of joy. When I say vibration, what I mean is the trajectory of, what I mean is a frequency. What I mean by vibration is shared, it's interconnectedness, it's a color, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, and it's a truth. I really love that I'm coming into my third year of podcasting. Three, my goodness. Three is really, it's quite a it's just, when I look back, I can't even believe it's been 3 years. I've seen just how much I've grown on so many levels, and I really look forward to see where I will be a year from now, or even 3 years from now, or the type of guests that will be on the podcast, who else is gonna be on the podcast, how we're all gonna keep growing together and sharing love with one another. I really look forward to being more open and always being as authentic as I can. What is being authentic? What does authentic mean to you? I invite you to ask yourself that question. What does it mean to be authentic? Everyone's going to have their own answer. What is authenticity? I remember, I have this Pinocchio puppet in here in my podcast room. It's down here. But anyways, this Pinocchio puppet, I remember when I got it, there was a certificate of authenticity that I needed to get in order for it to be an authentic serial number, an authentic puppet, an authentic version. And I remember thinking, I was maybe about 19 when I got this puppet. I remember, what does that mean, certificate of authenticity? Why do I need a certificate in order for it to be authentic? And that was really one of the first times that I felt the word authenticity. Like, well, what makes this puppet authentic? Well, how can I be authentic? And what does that even mean for me? And as I look back, I feel, not only did I resonate deeply with Pinocchio, the character. I always felt like Pinocchio became who he wanted to be because he wished upon a star. And actually, Geppetto, his father, wished upon a star. But he also, when Pinocchio came to life, he was praying to a fairy godmother, which in my version could be God, or could be an angel, or it could be a fairy godmother. And so when Pinocchio finally had the courage to tell her the truth of his lies, or the destruction that he was causing when he was learning right from wrong, and though he almost died at the end, fairy godmother brought him back because he had proved to be truthful, unselfish, and he was able to become what he always wanted, which was a real boy. And in that, he had proven to himself and to his loved ones that he was authentic, and that at the time of There was a time in the story of Pinocchio where he saves his father from drowning. When he was saving his father, it was all because of love. And that is a story of love. And I realized through this story that I've been loving since I was a little kid, that is once again the common denominator that we all share is love. And the more we can love ourselves and love others, we become authentic. We become authentic. We become authentic. Authentic is pure as you can be, when there's no such thing as right or wrong, because there isn't. There is no such thing as right or wrong. Right or wrong are judgments that we give ourselves through criticism, through through expectations, through insecurities, from not accepting ourselves. And when we realize and recognize that there is no right or wrong, we start to see that there's no right or wrong in others as well. Because everything that you've gone through, you're doing the best that you can. Given the knowledge and the experiences that you have up to this point, you're doing the best that you can. And especially when you become aware of something. Now, if you're in a pattern or some kind of loop where you're doing something over and over, over and over, if you really don't realize it, you're still not doing anything wrong. You can recognize something doesn't feel true to me, or something, I'm stuck in a certain pattern. How can I get unstuck? How can I get unstuck from doing this, being in this loop that I'm in? Getting unstuck is even can even occur by you asking yourself that question. All your answers lie within yourself. All your answers lie within yourself. It sounds like a cliche if you're hearing this for the first time, but we all have a higher self, an inner being of higher consciousness. And whether you call that coming from energy that we cannot recognize or transmute or really believe, whether you call it the God energy or the God particle, whether you call it an inner angel or whatever it is, there's a higher source, a higher energy that lives within each and one of us. This higher source, this higher energy that lives within each and one of us has a desire to be and live as authentic as possible. We came here to live a life full of riches. And whether you think of richness as being materialistic, and whether you think of richness as being wholesome and being peaceful, and being being a Buddhist or meditating every day, whatever richness is to you, when you are able to bring in humility, when you're able to bring in the peace and the calmness of recognizing that we're all here to motivate each other through love, everything else starts to come into an alignment. I remember there were times in my life where I felt trapped when I was living in hospitals for 10 years. And I really didn't see anything else for my life at the time other than being a patient, and veins being missed through so many different types of injections and blood transfusions from surgeries. One of the biggest losses that I had was losing my ability to pee. When I lost my urinary bladder, I thought, what the heck? How am I going to live my life this way? Am I even going to live? I had to find a different way to love myself and love my new body when doctors made me a neobladder out of my small intestine. I had to love that neobladder. I had to love my stoma. I had to love my scars, because my scars and my stoma and my organs, they weren't hating me. They were loving me, and they were yearning for me to love them back. And when I recognized that everything has an inner desire to be loved, things started to become healed. And I then started to say, I'm not on a healing journey, I'm on a wellness journey. Because what I realized then at the time is that the more I was on a healing journey, the more I would be healing. But I was ready to be well. Changing some certain words, your vocabulary from healing to wellness can change your vibration within yourself, within your cells, within your mind, within your own personal being. So as I discover and continue on this wellness journey, I want to extend my appreciation to all the viewers, the watchers, and the listeners, that have encouraged me to keep going. And I hope I can encourage all of you to keep going, even in the midst of feeling like there's nowhere to go, even in the midst of feeling like letting go. But I also want to point out that sometimes letting go means letting in. And what I mean by that is that if there's ever a time, or there will be times, and there are times in your life where something feels stagnant, or something just feels like you just keep hitting a wall, keep hitting a wall. And if you keep hitting that wall, perhaps that is a redirection. If you keep hitting a wall, perhaps that means let go. If you keep hitting a wall, perhaps that means release, relax, and trust. When you trust the outcome without you knowing the how, ideas present themselves naturally. Solutions present themselves naturally. Just think, for every question that you have about how is this going to work, or how is this going to happen, how is this going to be true for me, for every question, the answer already exists. But if you're putting so much pressure into trying to figure out that answer, you're putting resistance to that pressure. There's always a resistance. And when you can let go of that pressure, or that having to know how, you release some of that tension and allow in a natural flow of energy to show you how. And that's what we're here for. We're here for the journey. Because if we knew how right away with everything, life wouldn't be as adventurous. Life wouldn't be as fun. Life wouldn't be as mystical. Life wouldn't be as magical. Life wouldn't be enticing. Life wouldn't be challenging. A lot of us love challenges. Some of us don't, but some of us do. Challenges can help some of us grow, some of us learn, and challenge ourselves even more. But at the very least, what is at the very least here? At the very least, I feel really blessed to be where I'm at today. And I just want to extend this gratitude to all of you. And thank you for the motivation that keeps encouraging me and others. If there's one thing that I want all of you to know through listening to this episode, or even the other episodes that I have on this platform, is to trust in yourself, especially when you're being authentic and you know you're being authentic. How do you know if you're being authentic? The things that you do, or a certain thing that you do, brings you joy. It makes you smile. It makes you light up. What makes you light up? Ask yourself this. There's a lot of people that don't know these things. What lights you up inside? It could be as small as, I love pistachio ice cream. That lights me up. Be in that lit moment. What other feelings come in when you're sitting there in that bliss? Oh my goodness, this pistachio ice cream is delicious. Sitting there eating that ice cream with a smile. Well, I love to eat pistachio ice cream on a bright sunny day. Well, what does that sun feel like? Well, it feels glorious and magical and warm, and it hugs my body, and it makes me feel present. And I see people smiling at me, and I smile back at them. That simple interaction that you have with yourself and with your inner joy starts to expand, and you start to see the beauty all around you. And in that moment, you can ask yourself questions. Well, what am I doing next? What do I want to do next? Well, what's my life purpose? And when you're in that joy, you'll start getting these thoughts and these ideas of something to do next, or an answer, or a one-word answer will come through you. Oh, go bike riding. Go bike riding. Well, I don't have a bike. Well, maybe I need to get a bike. Well, maybe I can't afford a bike. Well, how can I afford a bike? And you start asking yourself these questions, and these answers start coming to you, towards you, and doors start to open, and things start to unfold. And that's how magic happens. That's how the real deal magic happens. This has been magical. Thank you so much. I'm going to end this with a poem that I wrote specifically for this episode. As I embrace 3 years, connecting, uplifting, motivating, and asking, my soul smiles, my heart sings, and our connection expands. Flowers dance, and music is made with the harmony of interconnectedness. As I embrace 3 years, I continue the journey holding my hand and holding yours. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to A Little Less Fear podcast, the Dr. Lino Show. I love you all. Let's keep going. And don't forget to smile along the way and to share your light with the world. Thank you so much.